Hi there. It's almost the end of January, hence the idea for the podcast. How are you persisting in your New Year's resolutions concerning language learning? Still feeling super motivated and excited about learning? Or your resolution was a bit like a flash in a pan, and now you're not so willing to continue, or you're feeling a bit overwhelmed because you're a bit of more than you can chew? Or maybe you're lacking the feeling of progress. If you have a feeling of falling to the second, more negative category and consider giving up the language, regardless of when you actually started learning, either a few weeks ago or a few months ago or years ago, listen to this podcast. I want to make you aware of some things before you give up and hopefully discourage you from doing it. The process of language learning, as with other resolutions or goals we have, may turn out to be arduous, time-consuming, and frustrating at times. Very often, after the first boost of motivation, we realize how much effort it takes. The enthusiasm goes down, and we really don't feel like continuing with learning. In moments like that, or in moments of doubt, tell and remind yourself why you started learning in the first place, what your motivation was, and if you really need it now. Is it something you were going to take seriously from the very beginning, or was it a kind of an unspecified whim, and the decision was made on the spur of the moment? So what I'm getting at here is that it is important to know why you're learning the language and have this kind of awareness, an awareness that may keep you persistent in reaching the level of the language you dream of, no matter the obstacles. So before the idea of giving up crosses your mind, remind yourself why you're doing it. Okay, so once you know why you learn the language, it is crucial to set realistic and specific goals. Quite often, unfortunately, I can observe two behaviors among my adult students. The first one, either they expect too much of themselves, or the second one, they learn blindfolded. So the first group, they expect way too much. Goals that are quite impossible to achieve in such a short period. I always appreciate that they are ambitious and conscientious, by the way, and they want to learn as fast as possible. But please, don't go to extremes. Those unrealistic goals often end up with frustration and burnout rather than a success. So don't bite off more than you can chew. And do you know how many years it took to be fluent in your mother tongue? Definitely not 2 years. Or have you ever stopped learning it? Nope. You're still learning and the process has no end. So chill out a bit and don't expect yourself to master the language in less than a year at a communicative level or less than 2 years at a proficient level. The other behavior is quite the opposite. There are no specific goals at all. And then students don't exactly know what skills they want to master in, let's say, 6 months' time. As I mentioned, they learn blindfolded. But of course, such an attitude still allows them to compare themselves with others who, for example, have specific goals, see their progress, and such an attitude often leads to frustration as well. Or without any specific goals, they may have a feeling they learned nothing after 2 or 3 years. They are not able to mark the progress, or they do it by comparing themselves to others, which is never a good option, unless comparing is uplifting and inspiring, of course. So before giving up, check if you set realistic goals or any goals at all, and don't base your progress on comparing yourselves with others. Why is setting goals so essential? You are able to mark your progress, and when you see it works and you actually know more than 3 months ago, then giving up is less probable. And because you stay motivated and cheered up and have tangible evidence you actually learned something. And big goals and checking progress on a bigger scale is great. However, I advise you to focus on the small ones as well. Appreciate even the tiniest progress. Think about yourself and your skills from 3 years ago, and 3 months ago, and 3 weeks ago. If you learn regularly, I bet you'll notice the progress. Mark it somewhere, make a table with the points you learned, and with the the points that show you what still needs improving, if something like that helps you. Do it from time to time to stay motivated. Adult students tend to focus on what they still don't know rather than appreciate the things they achieved and focus on what they are like already and actually know. So before giving up, try to mark your progress. And when you see you made progress, give yourself an award. Something small and something that will make you happy, like a movie at the cinema, or ramen from your favorite restaurant, or a city break. And you don't have to do it always, just when you master one level. You can do it when you master one grammar structure or whatever else you're struggling with. It's all up to you. Imagine you promise yourself a tangible award once you reach an advanced level, which takes years. And if learning itself isn't like a form of satisfaction for you, then it is hardly possible you will keep learning for so long. So small awards after mastering smaller chunks of knowledge. And before the idea of giving up crosses your mind again, award yourself with something and check how good it feels. Small chunks of knowledge, small steps, make learning a routine. That's the next point. When it is your habit, it'll be harder to give up. So it's better to work on a habit of learning like 15 to 20 minutes a day rather than 2-3 hours over the weekend. The second idea may seem more arduous and hellish and too exhausting and time-consuming for some. But if you connect learning with a pleasurable moment during the day, such as meeting with people from your group, or if you learn at home, let's say connected with drinking coffee, you may think twice before you give up. When combined with an everyday habit, learning will become natural like any other everyday activity. And the last factor making us give up is that our brains are lazy. So don't beat yourself up because you don't feel up to learning a new grammar structure. Your brain simply doesn't want it. Our brains want to save up energy as often as possible during the day, and learning is a way to use that energy up. And it happens while learning any skill. When it comes to language learning, I can see this tendency very often among pre-intermediate and intermediate students. So students that are quite communicative, they're able to survive in the English environment even if they make mistakes. So why should they learn something more, like an extra grammar structure, an extra future structure, let's say, or expand their vocabulary with rich synonyms? Even if they want, they feel quite a struggle or effort because their brain already knows an easy equivalent of a word or can form a sentence that will allow them to communicate, even if the sentence is not grammatically correct. So, they can communicate, they can survive in the English environment. So why should we learn more? The brain may ask you. And as a teacher, I can observe it when students want to achieve, let's say, B2 level, C1 level. Sometimes it also appears when they are at B1 and they want to get like B1 plus or B2. And then they start questioning a lot of things and their importance, or they get frustrated because in their speech, they always go for the easy words, the words that they learned by heart years ago, and it's very hard to switch to a more advanced language. And they feel a bigger effort now than when they started learning from the elementary level. It is very common when you learn the language. We are able to master the basics in a blink of an eye, but when it comes to more advanced vocabulary grammar, it may appear to be a huge effort. So my advice, keep doing. Try to think about the vocab and structure you want to use. Trust me, day by day, it'll be easier and easier. It's like with a muscle you train at the gym. Remember one of your days after the leg day or any other muscle pain when you trained a body part which hadn't been trained for a while? It hurt during the exercise and probably a few days after. But when you kept training it, and you could lift more, you could do more squats, and you didn't suffer from the muscle pain so much. The same will happen with your tongue and your brain. So, if you feel a moment of a struggle is a potential factor to give up, don't do it. The effort is needed to make progress. And finally, before you give up, think about all the time spent and the effort put into language learning. I know the process has its ups and downs. It's like a roller coaster. But once you go through the wall and master the thing you struggled with, there will be a huge satisfaction until you come across a new obstacle, of course. And of course, again, overcome it. And thinking about the effort, do you really want it to go down the drain? It was Kasia speaking to you, and I really hope you are fighters who don't easily give up. Bye-bye.